Hello, welcome to today's broadcast. Thanks for joining me, and thank you to any replay viewers. My name is Davina. I'm an American relocated to I'm an Australian relocated to the United States, and I'm here to help preserve democracy and to be part of a movement to disrupt extremism. That makes probably more sense than saying disrupt fascism, because what fascism is not something everybody can necessarily define. But if you want a definition of fascism, for me, it would be when a critical mass of people are emotionally manipulated by a charismatic, performative strongman who gets their consent to undermine democracy, to burn the bridges, the guardrails of democracy, whilst they sell a pipe dream of nationalism fueled by cruelty and the false moral clarity of picking on other people, picking a shifting target of minority groups to denigrate, whether they be Jews or Mexican migrants or trans people or LGBTQ people. There's a shifting protective umbrella of racial hierarchy or ethnic hierarchy and gender hierarchy, and people will sometimes flock to be under that protective umbrella and to also feel unity and purpose in joining together and pointing at the people left out in the rain and calling them enemies, and then building up energy to commit acts of cruelty by falsely accusing the persecuted minority of being the true oppressors. Oh no, those people are invading us. The Jews are out to get us. I don't want to repeat their propaganda too much, except to call it out. And today I am also talking about this news. Let's have a look. Attorney General Merrick Garland has appointed a special counsel who will continue the investigation of various alleged crimes, very blatantly, publicly committed and defended crimes by Donald Trump. So one of my favorite accounts, Mueller, she wrote, Alison Giles, notes her opinion is that appointing a special counsel isn't a punt by Garland. It's an indication he is willing to indict and is ready to do so. The special counsel is Jack Smith. This is a picture of him, and he apparently once indicted a CIA officer and secured a conviction for mishandling national defense information. So that's really good, because he's worked for the Hague before, which is the International Criminal Tribunal for people who've committed war crimes, and he's tasked with investigating the absence of a peaceful transfer of power, i.e. Trump's participation in fomenting and executing a coup through inciting violence, through exploring pseudo-legal strategies to overturn the legal results of a legitimate election in favor of illicitly obtaining a second term, an undeserved second term, and thereby shattering democratic guardrails and the democratically determined will of the people in a collective sense. So thank you, Special Counsel Jack Smith. You are definitely taking a lot on. Trump has form and precedence for whipping up violent energies amongst his supporters to insult, attack, harass, violently threaten, and indeed often attempt acts of violence against his enemies, whether it be through sending pipe bombs to former Democratic presidents or rioting and attacking and injuring 140 police officers at the Capitol on the day of January the 6th, 2021. This is Trump's fascist, extremist ballgame. That's how he helps consolidate power. That's how he helps stave off legal accountability for his criminal actions. So if you want to grieve with me a little bit, let's grieve momentarily the loss of the House to Democratic control, because the Republican Party at this stage of their existence is a cover operation for a bunch of compromised lobbyists who sell out the interests of American children, American adults, by pandering to the gun lobby, by being transactional about American safety. They trade away your children's mental health, your children's physical safety, in exchange for donations from gun manufacturing lobbies who want guns to proliferate, who benefit from not only increased shootings, but the increased perception of danger, which sometimes drives deluded people to get more guns. And I'm not talking about the people who buy one gun and keep it under safe lock and key. I'm talking about irresponsible gun collectors who indulge an obsession with guns and who indulge a false framing of the world and of American democracy, in which they assure themselves, this is my Second Amendment privileges and rights. I'm supposed to own as many guns as I possibly can of military strength in order to defend against tyranny. That's what the Second Amendment practically commands me to do, and anybody who tries to say there should be limits to the number and power of the weapons I can buy, they are anti-constitutional in their approach. So those are the kind of delusions that afflict gun worshippers, irresponsible gun owners. I'm going to commend a subset of responsible gun owners and say, good for you. Thank you for your support for safety, gun safety legislation, responsible laws such as background safety checks, and an end to loophole purchases at firearm shows, etc. Thank you for whatever gun safety laws you endorse, and thank you for securing your weapons responsibly. And I will say no thank you, shame on you, to that irresponsible set of gun owners who have heavy buy-in to NRA propaganda and deceit with regards to the Second Amendment and to the what they deem to be a constitutional prerogative to own guns in order to defeat a government they perceive to be unjust or tyrannical. That's not how you defeat tyranny, with by starting a shootout with the government, even though shootouts are often what those people fantasize about because they want to be able to play Bruce Willis in Die Hard, but with our lives. They want to play shootout games. They want there to be more mass shootings so that they can be there in the critical moment with their gun taking out the bad guys. They want to transpose their video game energy into American daily life, making us live through what is effectively war zone dynamics, relatively muted war zone dynamics. Some neighborhoods are obviously worse off than others, and Republican-governed areas where gun safety laws have been relaxed at the behest of Republican legislators. Those areas are associated with an increase in homicides and crime in general, because hyper-gun proliferation leads to higher levels of gun theft from unsecured gun locations, and then higher levels of crimes committed with those stolen guns. So you put more guns into circulation, you have more negative consequences for the people who are unfortunate enough to live under that style of Republican anti-governance. Oh, anti-governance. All right, I might have to go really soon. It's been fun having a picture of Jack Smith up this whole time because he looks resolute. He's a prosecutor from The Hague and a former Department of Justice Public Integrity Section Chief. So that's great. I'm going to throw out a little bit of an acknowledgement to Twitter for calling Elon Musk Apartheid Clyde and having that be his nickname at the moment. That dude, we can only guess at his motivations, but to me, he seems a little bit like Trump in that he's likely so egotistical that you can manipulate him into doing the work of despots or building on the work of despots and sabotaging democratic institutions whilst you claim loudly to be making them great again. So Elon tried to make Twitter great again, fired half the workforce, told the rest of the workforce that their previous working conditions were coming to a close by 5 p.m. and you had to sign on to a loyalty oath in which you promised to work harder, longer hours for this new employer who seemed to be running the platform into the ground and scaring away all the revenue via unnerving advertisers and destroying the verification system that had allowed advertisers to protect their brands from pranksters. I better go. But thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed the show, feel free to recommend it to others. Feel free to retweet it or post a link to it or just recommend it to someone. If you have any suggestions or feedback, I can't see Twitter comments, but I can see comments on YouTube or Twitch. Thank you to any replay viewers as well. Whilst Twitter is still up and hasn't collapsed from some kind of outage as a result of all its engineers either being fired or resigning, my Twitter handle is davcat43. Let me put it up on the screen. And I have the same handle at Mastodon now, a new platform that's probably going to be a little bit buggy whilst a lot of Twitter refugees flock there. davcat43. There we go. So that's if you want to find me anywhere else on the internet. That's typically what I use. All right. Cheers, everybody. Thank you. Talk to you another time. And cheers to anybody who watches this broadcast at a later date. Bye. Take care of yourselves and each other. That's always a good concluding wish for everyone as well. These are challenging times. And we have a lot of creature comforts if we're lucky. If we're not lucky, we're getting the thin end of the inflation stick. But bizarrely enough, inflation is lowering and gas prices have fallen heavily since the midterm elections, almost as if there were domestic and international actors who were acting in bad faith to interfere with the elections by artificially inflating gas prices to reduce the number of Democrats elected to Congress. Anyway, interference. Got to work to counteract that. And all the work is done by people who have the courage to stand up and describe what they see, and also the humility to evaluate the sources of information they get and to seek good quality information, regardless of the challenge it poses to their egos and their established ways of thinking.